How Stoicism can improve your relationships. Have you ever stopped to think about how some of your reactions and attitudes might be affecting your relationships? Most of us strive for more harmonious relationships, whether with family, friends, or partners. But often, we deal with frustrations, misunderstandings, and, in some cases, feel trapped in certain patterns that we can't seem to change. Stoic philosophy, which emerged over 2,000 years ago, offers a valuable guide for anyone who wants to not only understand these conflicts but also cultivate healthier and more balanced relationships. And the most interesting thing, it's not about demanding that others change, but about changing how we react to the situations around us. Today, we will explore how Stoicism can be applied to improve our relationships. Imagine being able to not be so shaken by small criticisms, avoid unnecessary arguments, and, at the same time, communicate in a more sincere and assertive way. This is exactly what Stoic principles can help you achieve. If you've heard of Stoicism but never thought about applying it to your love life or with your friends, this video can be transformational. After all, who wouldn't want to be at peace, even in the most challenging situations? Before we dive deep into this fascinating topic, I want to make a quick request. If you enjoy learning about philosophy and want to keep growing personally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Your support makes all the difference in helping us create more content like this and ensuring the channel continues to grow. And one more thing, as you watch the video, think of a situation where Stoicism could have helped you in a relationship. I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what is beyond our reach. This principle is the foundation of a more peaceful life and is also essential for building healthier relationships. When we apply this concept to relationships, we realize how much of our emotional energy is often wasted on unrealistic expectations of the people around us. Often, we get hurt or frustrated because we expect others to act in a certain way. Maybe the ideal partner who always supports, the friend who is always there, or the family member who understands our needs without us having to speak. However, when we transfer the responsibility of our happiness to the behavior of others, we open the door to conflicts and disappointments. Stoicism invites us to look inward, to develop emotional stability that does not depend on the behavior of others. This doesn't mean we should become insensitive or indifferent. On the contrary, it means that we learn to deal with what is under our control, our own reaction. Accepting people as they are. One of the core lessons Stoicism offers for relationships is acceptance. Instead of wanting the people around us to change to fit what we want, Stoicism teaches us to recognize that each individual has their own experiences, limitations, and perspectives. This acceptance is not synonymous with complacency. It is, rather, an understanding that others have their own journeys, and the desire to change them usually causes more frustration than harmony. When we accept that people have flaws, just like us, we are less likely to judge them and more likely to seek true understanding. Imagine a situation where a friend cancels a plan at the last minute. Naturally, our first reaction might be disappointment or anger, especially if we were counting on their company. But by applying the Stoic view, we can ask ourselves, does this reaction really help the situation? Is it more productive to focus on our own expectations, or accept that the other person has the right to make decisions, even if they are not the ones we would like? Moreover, acceptance creates space for the other person to feel free to be who they truly are, without the weight of expectation. When we accept others as they are, we also open the door for them to accept us in the same way. This mutuality brings lightness to relationships, making them more authentic. Cultivating empathy and understanding. Another point that Stoicism teaches us is the importance of empathy. Empathy doesn't just mean sympathizing with someone, but genuinely trying to understand what they feel and think. This is a crucial aspect in relationships because often we react to the words or actions of others without trying to see the situation from their point of view. In Stoicism, empathy is a constant exercise of stepping outside of ourselves and observing the world through the other person's eyes, even if just for a few moments. Imagine a situation where you feel like you haven't been heard during an argument. Instead of reacting defensively, Stoic thinking encourages us to consider what might have led the other person to behave that way. Maybe they are going through a difficult time, maybe they have their own insecurities. This doesn't mean we should accept harmful behavior, but we can understand that everyone has a story that influences their actions. Additionally, the practice of empathy strengthens our bonds because it shows that we are willing to understand the other person, not just have them understand us. This not only improves relationships, but it also reduces conflicts and misunderstandings. Practicing self-control and calm. One of the pillars of Stoicism is self-control. In the heat of the moment, when arguments or disagreements arise, it's easy to let emotions take over and act impulsively. However, Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in controlling our emotional responses. When we are able to pause, breathe, and reflect before reacting, we are exercising the self-control that Stoic philosophers valued so highly. Let's think about a common situation, an argument between partners. Something said abruptly can lead to resentment, and in many cases, words spoken in moments of anger end up causing deep wounds. Practicing self-control means recognizing anger but not allowing it to dictate our actions. Instead, we can choose to respond calmly, listening to what the other person has to say without interrupting. This kind of behavior, in addition to demonstrating emotional maturity, creates a foundation of respect and understanding in the relationship. This process of pausing before reacting is like a mental exercise. Each time we choose not to react impulsively, we strengthen our ability to handle conflicts more serenely. Over time, the people around us begin to notice this change and tend to respond in the same way, creating a positive cycle. How Stoicism can help foster honest and respectful communication. Communication is a fundamental element for any healthy relationship, yet it can often be a source of conflict and misunderstanding. Stoic philosophy guides us to cultivate honesty and respect in our interactions with others, providing a solid foundation for clearer and more productive dialogues. One Stoic practice that can improve communication is the pursuit of truth, without exaggeration or judgment. In the heat of a difficult conversation, it's common to be overtaken by emotions and say things that don't reflect reality or that carry unnecessary criticism. Stoicism teaches us to avoid these emotional traps, encouraging us to speak only what is true, helpful, and respectful. When applying this philosophy, imagine a conversation with a partner, friend, or colleague about something that bothers you. Instead of focusing on the other person's mistakes or on the intense feelings that arise within you, Stoicism suggests that you focus on the issue itself, without letting emotions distort your words. This approach not only helps to reduce misunderstandings but also creates an environment where the other person feels heard and respected. Speaking with clarity and assertiveness. For a Stoic, it's important that our words be clear and direct, without vagueness or omissions. Often, we hold back from expressing what we truly think or feel out of fear of how the other person might react. Stoicism teaches us that if we are speaking with honesty and respect, we can be clear about our opinions and boundaries without being aggressive or passive. Imagine you need to express a boundary in a relationship, such as the need for more personal time. Instead of justifying yourself excessively or avoiding the topic to avoid displeasing the other person, Stoicism encourages a direct and balanced approach. Saying something like, "I need some time to focus on myself, and this helps me to be better when we're together," communicates your need without causing guilt or resentment. This type of assertive communication, based on clarity, prevents situations from building up and causing resentment or misunderstandings in the future. Furthermore, clear and honest communication promotes mutual respect, as it shows that you value both the relationship and yourself enough to be truthful. Handling criticism and disagreements with calmness. Stoicism teaches us that people won't always react as we expect or approve of our choices. This is an important point for healthy communication. Accepting that criticism and disagreements are part of relationships and that we don't need to react defensively every time we are confronted. When someone criticizes us, the first reaction may be rejection or defensiveness. However, Stoic philosophy suggests that, rather than closing ourselves off or responding with aggression, we should listen calmly and reflect on what was said. Sometimes, criticism contains something valuable, an opportunity to improve or understand something we hadn't noticed. Even if the criticism isn't fair, we can choose not to be shaken or retaliate, maintaining our calm. Suppose a friend criticizes a choice of yours that they see as inappropriate. Instead of responding impulsively, Stoicism suggests that you thank them for their perspective and reflect on it before reacting. Perhaps they have a point that could be of value, or maybe they simply don't understand your intentions. In either case, staying calm and genuinely listening can avoid conflicts and help strengthen the relationship. Practicing active listening. One of the pillars of Stoicism is humility, which also applies to the way we listen to others. Often, in conversations, we're more focused on responding than truly listening. For a Stoic, active and genuine listening is a sign of respect and a fundamental step toward building understanding. The next time you're having a conversation with someone, Try to listen without planning an immediate response or forming judgments. Give the person space to express their feelings and opinions, and show that you are genuinely present and interested. This type of deep listening is rare, and therefore extremely valued. When someone feels truly heard, they become more open to listening as well, creating a cycle of mutual respect. Active listening also allows us to better understand the needs and concerns of others, preventing future misunderstandings and conflicts. It's a powerful practice that, despite being simple, brings lasting benefits to relationships. How Stoicism can help in conflict resolution and overcoming challenges in relationships. In any type of relationship, whether romantic, familial, or friendship, conflicts are inevitable. However, the way we handle these challenges makes all the difference. Often, misunderstandings become intense and difficult to resolve, especially when they involve strong emotions or miscommunications. What Stoicism offers differently from other approaches to conflict resolution is the idea that our peace of mind and emotional responses are more important than the need to be right or win the argument. By adopting Stoic teachings, we can learn to deal with conflicts in a more balanced way, maintaining our calm while respecting the other person's needs. Understanding what we can control. One of Stoicism's greatest teachings is the distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. When facing a conflict in a relationship, we often feel frustrated because we can't change the other person or the external circumstances. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is under our control: our actions, our reactions, and our emotions. When someone says something that hurts us or behaves in a way that displeases us, the initial impulse might be to try to control their attitude or ask them to change. But Stoicism helps us recognize that we can't control others, only our response to them. By realizing this, we begin to release the tension that arises from trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead of reacting impulsively, Stoicism encourages us to pause, reflect, and choose the best way to respond. This practice of focusing on what we can control brings a sense of relief and empowerment. When we no longer feel the need to change the other person, we are more likely to seek effective and less confrontational solutions. For example, in a discussion with a partner, instead of trying to convince the other person that they are wrong, we can focus on communicating our own feelings and needs clearly and respectfully. Resolving conflicts with serenity and self-control. Self-control is one of Stoicism's pillars, and it plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. In situations of disagreement, it is natural for our emotions to flare up. Anger, frustration, sadness, and fear can lead us to impulsive reactions that only escalate the problem. Stoicism, however, teaches us not to let emotions dictate our actions, as it is our thoughts and attitudes that ultimately determine our behavior. When a conflict arises, the Stoic's first response is to remain calm. Instead of reacting emotionally and impulsively, the Stoic seeks a moment of reflection, asking themselves what is truly under their control and what is the best way to handle the situation. The first step is to allow emotions to settle. When we are calm, we are better able to see the problem clearly and are more effective at finding a solution that benefits both parties. The practice of self-control in a conflict is like taking a step back to assess the situation objectively. Rather than focusing on anger or the desire to win the argument, the Stoic focuses on what can be done to resolve the issue constructively. This doesn't mean ignoring feelings or becoming insensitive. On the contrary, it means acknowledging emotions but not allowing them to guide our actions. Imagine a disagreement with a friend. Instead of reacting angrily and trying to win the discussion, a Stoic would take some time to breathe and reflect on the causes of the conflict. They might ask themselves, how can I resolve this situation constructively without harming the relationship? By staying calm, communication becomes more effective, and the conflict is more likely to be resolved without lasting damage. The art of arguing with respect. The Stoic approach to resolving conflicts doesn't mean avoiding discussions or hiding feelings, but learning to argue with respect and balance. The goal of an argument, according to Stoicism, is not to win or convince the other person that you are right, but to reach a mutual understanding and strengthen the relationship. This requires listening to the other side, understanding their concerns, and expressing your own perspective clearly and respectfully. Rather than entering a discussion with the intention of dominating the other person, the Stoic approaches the dialogue with an open mind, willing to understand the other person's point of view. This attitude creates a space of mutual respect where both parties can express their feelings and thoughts without fear of being judged or disrespected. For example, if you disagree with a friend over an important decision, instead of starting the argument defensively, a Stoic might say, "I understand your point of view. Can you explain more about the reasoning behind your decision? This type of approach, which promotes understanding and empathy, prevents the discussion from turning into a battle and creates fertile ground for conflict resolution. Using Stoic philosophy to forgive and overcome. In many situations, conflicts in a relationship can lead to resentment or difficulty in forgiving the other person. Stoicism teaches us to release the weight of resentment, which is an obstacle to inner peace and emotional well-being. According to the Stoics, holding on to anger or bitterness does not harm the other person, but rather harms us because it prevents us from achieving tranquility. Forgiveness, in Stoic terms, doesn't mean erasing the wrong or injustice that was done, but choosing not to let resentment dominate us. The Stoic understands that by cultivating anger or hatred, we are simply holding on to something that is beyond our control and that we cannot change. Forgiveness, then, is an act of emotional liberation. When we forgive, we release the burden the conflict carries and create the possibility of reconciliation. Imagine a friend has hurt you with an action or word. Instead of carrying the hurt and letting it affect the relationship, Stoicism suggests asking yourself, do I have control over what happened? Can I change what was done? What is under my control now is how I choose to react. By adopting this perspective, you are more able to forgive, not because the other person deserves forgiveness, but because you choose peace over anger. This process of forgiveness also involves accepting that everyone makes mistakes, including ourselves. Stoicism reminds us of our own imperfection and teaches us to have compassion for others, just as we hope for compassion from ourselves. Through forgiveness, we not only release the other person but also free ourselves, allowing the relationship to grow in a healthier way. The importance of maintaining inner peace. Finally, one of Stoicism's greatest gifts to relationships is the emphasis on inner peace. When we are at peace with ourselves, we are better equipped to handle challenges and conflicts in a balanced way. Inner peace gives us mental and emotional clarity, enabling us to make wiser decisions and treat others with greater kindness and respect. The ongoing practice of reflecting on our emotions, controlling our reactions, and focusing on what is within our control helps us maintain this peace. In a relationship, this means not allowing external difficulties to dominate us or letting our reactions be guided by temporary impulses. Instead, we respond with calmness, wisdom, and understanding. How Stoicism can help maintain healthy and lasting relationships. Human relationships, while essential for our well-being, are often tested by challenges such as misunderstandings, lack of communication, and differences in opinion. What often separates a healthy relationship from a harmful one is the ability of the people involved to adapt, forgive, and, above all, cultivate patience and mutual respect. Stoicism, with its practices of self-control, rationality, and focus on virtue, offers powerful tools to strengthen relationships and foster a deeper, longer-lasting, and more meaningful connection. In this segment, we will explore how Stoic principles can be applied to nurture healthy relationships, maintain emotional balance, and promote harmony between those involved. The practice of amor fati in relationships. The concept of amor fati, which translates to love of fate, is one of the pillars of Stoicism and involves accepting everything that happens in our lives, whether good or bad, with an attitude of acceptance and even gratitude. For the Stoics, adversity is an opportunity for growth, and difficulties are natural parts of life that we should embrace rather than resist. When applied to relationships, amor fati teaches us to accept the challenges that arise with others as opportunities to improve our virtue and develop our patience, understanding, and compassion. This is particularly helpful when dealing with the mistakes and shortcomings of others. Instead of viewing the mistakes of a partner, friend, or family member as unforgivable flaws or reasons for anger, we can adopt a more stoic approach and look for ways to grow from the situation. If a friend forgets an important commitment, or if a partner does not meet your expectations, amor fati suggests that, instead of focusing on frustration or resentment, we should accept human imperfection and look for ways to grow from the experience. This does not mean that we should allow others to hurt us or that we should be passive in our relationships, but rather that we should choose to respond in a more constructive and understanding way, without letting negativity take control. Stoicism and emotional regulation in relationships. One of the greatest challenges in any type of relationship is managing emotions. When we are emotionally involved, whether in a friendship, romantic relationship, or even with family, emotions can take over, leading to impulsive reactions, thoughtless decisions, and a breakdown in communication. Stoicism teaches us to handle our emotions in a more rational, controlled, and balanced way, which is essential for maintaining a healthy relationship. Emotional regulation is a central practice in Stoicism. Stoic philosophers, such as Epictetus and Seneca, emphasize the importance of not being dominated by fleeting emotions, as this can impair our ability to make wise decisions and act justly and reasonably. Instead of letting anger, envy, or frustration dictate our behavior, the Stoics encourage us to reflect on our emotions and question them, adopting a more objective and rational perspective. In a relationship, this means being able to recognize when we are acting out of intense emotions and, instead of reacting impulsively, taking a moment to reflect on what we are feeling and why. If a partner says something that hurts us, the natural tendency may be to react defensively. But the Stoic approach suggests that, before responding, we should pause and ask ourselves, why does this bother me? Is there something I can learn from this situation? Emotional regulation does not mean suppressing feelings or ignoring pain. On the contrary, it involves acknowledging emotions in a healthy way, understanding their causes, and from there, acting in a more balanced and rational manner. By mastering our emotions in this way, we are better able to maintain harmony and peace in relationships, becoming more sensitive to the needs of others and avoiding overreactions that may damage the connection. The importance of Stoic empathy. Although Stoicism is often associated with self-control and rationality, it also places great emphasis on empathy and understanding others. One of the main teachings of Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, was the importance of treating others with kindness and compassion, even when they err. He believed that we are all subject to the same human weaknesses and that, as social beings, we should cultivate an attitude of understanding rather than judgment. In a relationship, empathy is crucial for fostering harmony and avoiding resentment. When we are empathetic, we are able to put ourselves in the other person's shoes, understand their emotions and motivations, and respond with more sensitivity. Stoicism teaches us that, when someone offends us or acts in a way we don't appreciate, we should consider their own struggles and weaknesses, recognizing that often people act according to their own insecurities, fears, and limitations. Imagine a situation where a friend is not being as receptive as usual. The immediate tendency might be to distance ourselves or feel upset by their behavior. However, the Stoic approach to empathy suggests that, before jumping to conclusions, we should try to understand what might be happening behind the other person's actions. They may be going through a difficult time that they have not shared with us, or they might be dealing with internal struggles that are affecting their behavior. Stoic empathy, therefore, involves a willingness to see the world through the eyes of others, which strengthens the relationship and helps resolve misunderstandings more effectively. It teaches us that, instead of focusing solely on our own needs and expectations, we should also be attuned to the experiences and perspectives of others. The practice of gratitude in Stoicism. Another fundamental concept of Stoicism that has a great impact on relationships is the practice of gratitude. For the Stoics, gratitude is not just a passive response to good things that happen, but an active attitude of appreciation for life, for everything it gives us, including the difficulties. This gratitude helps us realize that, even in the most challenging situations, there is always something positive to learn and benefit from. In the context of relationships, gratitude is a powerful practice that can strengthen the bond between two people. When we are grateful for the qualities of the other, for the moments shared, and even for the challenges that help us grow together, our relationship becomes stronger and richer. This does not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect, but rather acknowledging the positive aspects, even in difficult times. For example, if a partner is going through a tough time at work and this is affecting their mood, instead of feeling frustrated with them, the Stoic approach would suggest practicing gratitude. Being thankful for having this person in your life, for being able to support them, and for growing together during challenging times, strengthens the connection and helps maintain the perspective that relationships, like life, have ups and downs. The practice of gratitude helps us avoid falling into the trap of focusing only on the negative, allowing us to see the value in every part of the relationship. Stoicism as a tool to overcome relationship challenges. Throughout life, we all go through ups and downs in relationships. Some of these moments are marked by disagreements, misunderstandings, and even breakups. These challenges can cause deep emotional pain, especially if we don't have the right tools to deal with these situations constructively. However, Stoicism offers a powerful approach to dealing with emotional suffering and finding serenity, even in the most difficult circumstances. Stoicism in overcoming breakups. The end of a relationship, whether romantic, friendly, or familial, is an emotionally challenging experience. The pain that comes with separation can be overwhelming, and we often deal with feelings of sadness, rejection, guilt, or anger. For the Stoics, however, The key is not to avoid or deny these emotions, but to learn how to manage them in a healthy and rational way. The first lesson Stoicism offers in the context of a breakup is understanding that we cannot control the behavior of others. Marcus Aurelius, for example, wrote, "We cannot choose what happens to us, but we can choose how we react." This means that, although the end of a relationship may be beyond our control, our response to this situation is entirely in our hands. We are not passive victims of our circumstances. We are active agents in how we deal with them. One of the first Stoic practices to apply when facing a breakup is to reflect on what is truly within our control. We can control how we react to the event, but we cannot control the other person or what they feel. This allows us to deal with the situation more rationally, avoiding falling into the trap of victimhood or impulsive anger. For example, instead of focusing on what the other person did or didn't do, Stoicism encourages us to focus on our own emotional response, striving to act with dignity, self-compassion, and calm. Another principle of Stoicism that helps in this process is the practice of detachment. For Stoics, true happiness does not come from external things or the actions of others, but from our own virtue and ability to live in accordance with our rational nature. When a relationship ends, it's natural to feel attached to what has been lost. However, by adopting the Stoic viewpoint, we can learn to detach, understanding that our happiness does not depend on the presence of another person in our lives. This detachment helps us move forward in a healthier way, with our focus on building a balanced and virtuous life, regardless of external circumstances. Conflict resolution and Stoicism. Conflicts are inevitable in any relationship, but how we respond to these conflicts makes all the difference. Often, we become involved in heated arguments where emotions take over reason, which can lead to misunderstandings and irreparable damage to the relationship. Stoicism, however, offers an effective approach to conflict resolution, based on calmness, rationality, and virtue. The first Stoic practice to apply in moments of conflict is the pause. Before reacting impulsively to a situation, the Stoic is encouraged to take a moment to reflect. This doesn't mean swallowing our pride or avoiding communication, but rather taking a moment to assess the situation objectively. What exactly did the other person say or do? Why did it affect us emotionally? Can we respond in a constructive and non-reactive way? Epictetus, one of the principal Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not the events that disturb us, but our opinions about them." This thought suggests that, rather than reacting impulsively and emotionally to a situation, we should examine how our interpretation of the situation is affecting our emotions. This approach allows us to respond in a more rational and controlled manner, rather than reacting with anger or frustration. Furthermore, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control during a conflict. Often, in heated discussions, we try to control the other person, change their perspective, or force a solution. Stoicism encourages us to focus on our own attitude, striving to act with virtue, regardless of the other person's behavior. This means practicing honesty, respect, and understanding, even when the other person is being difficult or inflexible. By applying these principles, we are better able to resolve conflicts in a constructive way, preserving mutual dignity and respect, without letting the relationship deteriorate due to impulsive or destructive responses. How to find inner peace during relational conflict. During times of tension or after a conflict, inner peace becomes one of the most important needs. Stoic philosophy teaches that true peace does not come from a tranquil external environment, but from the ability to cultivate serenity within ourselves, regardless of the chaos around us. The practice of Stoic tranquility can be cultivated through techniques such as daily meditation, reflection on death, memento mori, and understanding that everything is transient. When we go through a conflict or a difficulty, we can remember that, just like everything else, these moments too shall pass. By focusing our minds on the impermanence of situations, we can maintain serenity and avoid impulsive or exaggerated reactions. Daily reflection is also an important practice in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, for example, would write in his journals, reflecting on the day's events and how he could act better in the future. This practice of self-analysis allows us to become aware of our own weaknesses, emotional patterns, and areas of growth, helping us learn from each relational challenge and grow as individuals. Another way to find inner peace during times of conflict is through the practice of acceptance. Accepting that people have their own flaws, limitations, and imperfections helps us abandon the idea that we can control everything around us. For example, if we are dealing with a difficult person or behavior that irritates us, we can remember that we cannot change the other person, but we can change how we respond to them. Acceptance allows us to focus on what is within our control and, in doing so, maintain inner peace, regardless of what is happening around us. How Stoicism can improve communication in relationships. Communication is the foundation of any healthy relationship. Whether in friendships, family relationships, or romantic partnerships, the ability to express oneself clearly, listen actively, and understand the other person are essential components for building and maintaining lasting bonds. However, many of us face difficulties in this area, often getting carried away by emotions, misunderstandings, and impulses that undermine the quality of communication. Stoicism, with its principles of self-control, rationality, and empathy, offers valuable tools for enhancing how we communicate and form deeper connections with others. Stoicism and the practice of active listening. One of the key aspects of good communication is active listening. Truly hearing the other person, without interruptions or premature judgments, is a crucial step in understanding their needs, feelings, and perspectives. However, in our daily interactions, we are often more focused on responding than on actually listening. Active listening, an essential practice for effective communication, can be strongly enhanced by the teachings of Stoicism. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of disciplining the mind to not be swayed by impulsive reactions. When someone is speaking, our mind often starts to race, trying to formulate a response before fully understanding what the other person is saying. Stoicism teaches us to stay calm, observe our own thoughts and feelings, and allow the other person to express themselves fully before we respond. This approach helps avoid hasty reactions and premature judgments. Instead of automatically responding based on our own assumptions, we can learn to listen more attentively and empathetically. This doesn't just mean hearing the words, but understanding the emotions and intentions behind them. For Stoics, practicing active listening is also a way to practice the virtue of moderation, by not letting our own desires to be heard or to be right overwhelm us. Additionally, Stoicism teaches us to cultivate humility when interacting with others. In a good conversation, it is essential to acknowledge that we don't know everything and that, often, other people have perspectives that can enrich our understanding. Active listening allows us to do this by setting aside our ego and focusing entirely on the other person. Rather than stubbornly defending our own opinions, we can adopt an attitude of curiosity, seeking to learn from the other person's experience. The importance of clear and direct communication. Another valuable principle of Stoicism applied to communication is clarity. Often, misunderstandings in relationships happen because people fail to express themselves clearly and directly. Instead of articulating their thoughts and feelings objectively, they try to read between the lines or give vague answers that can easily be misinterpreted. This can lead to confusion and frustration, damaging trust and mutual understanding. Stoicism teaches us the importance of expressing our thoughts and feelings clearly, without evasion or manipulation. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the need to be honest with oneself and with others. For Stoics, truth is an essential virtue, and this includes honesty in our interactions. Speaking clearly, without hiding our intentions or emotions, is a way of cultivating this virtue. Furthermore, clarity in communication doesn't mean being rude or aggressive. On the contrary, Stoicism also values kindness and respect in our words. Clear communication should be empathetic, treating the other person with dignity and consideration. For example, when we need to express something difficult, we can be direct, but at the same time, careful with our tone and word choice, so that the message is received constructively. Clarity in communication also helps us avoid misunderstandings that can cause unnecessary resentment. Often, frustrations in relationships arise because expectations are not communicated clearly or because we are not willing to confront the truth of a situation. Stoicism encourages us to be more assertive and transparent, recognizing that by being clear about what we think and feel, we facilitate understanding and strengthen our bonds. The practice of Stoic empathy. Empathy is a fundamental skill for improving communication and strengthening relationships. It involves the ability to put oneself in the other person's shoes, understand their emotions, and respond sensitively to their needs. Stoicism, though often associated with self-control and rationality, also emphasizes the importance of connecting with others in a genuine and compassionate way. The Stoics believed that by understanding human nature, we can become more compassionate and empathetic. For them, people act according to their own circumstances and understandings of the world, and it is our responsibility, as rational beings, to try to understand these perspectives. Empathy, therefore, is not just about feeling the other's emotions, but about understanding the reasons behind their behaviors and reactions. Practicing Stoic empathy partly means abandoning hasty judgments and accepting that everyone has their own internal struggles. For instance, when someone reacts aggressively or defensively, instead of responding with anger or frustration, we can try to understand what is motivating that reaction. Perhaps the person is going through emotional difficulties or dealing with something we haven't noticed. By cultivating this empathy, we can respond more carefully and constructively, rather than escalating the conflict. Stoic empathy also teaches us to maintain calmness and objectivity when dealing with others. Often, our own emotions can become an obstacle to truly understanding what the other person is experiencing. Stoicism invites us to maintain a rational perspective, allowing us to respond more balanced and effectively to others' emotional situations. Stoicism in building deeper connections. Finally, Stoicism provides a behavioral model that can help us build deeper and more lasting connections with those around us. By practicing active listening, clear communication, and empathy, we are better able to form meaningful, genuine bonds. However, Stoicism also reminds us of the importance of self-discipline and moderation in relationships. This means that, while we seek to connect with others, we should avoid excessive attachment or emotional dependence, maintaining our independence and inner balance. The Stoics believed that true friendship and solid relationships are based on virtue and mutual respect. When we practice Stoic principles in our interactions, we not only improve the quality of communication but also set an example of ethical and balanced behavior for others. Ultimately, this strengthens the ties and allows us to build deeper relationships based on respect, understanding, and trust. As we've seen, Stoicism offers powerful tools to improve communication, empathy, and ultimately our relationships with others. By practicing active listening, clarity in expression, and deep empathy, we can build stronger and healthier bonds with the people in our lives. Stoicism teaches us that the key to harmonious relationships lies not only in what we say, but also in how we connect with others in a reflective, respectful, and balanced way. If you resonated with the content of this video and want to continue learning about how Stoic principles can transform your personal life and relationships, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button if you found this information helpful and, most importantly, leave a comment. I'd love to hear how Stoicism has influenced your relationships, or if you have any questions or experiences you'd like to share. Your participation is really valuable. Remember, every thought, every action, and every interaction is an opportunity to practice and improve. Keep exploring the power of Stoicism in your life, and I'll see you in the next video.